All right, so you've been digging into fast music, and you're ready to really, understand what makes some genres push the BPMs to the limit.
You bet.
We are going deep on this top 10 fastest music genres list, and
Oh, yeah.
let me tell you, there are some real surprises here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like extra tone, we're talking speeds that'll melt your face off, and
It's wild.
you might be surprised by the genre that actually takes the top spot.
Buckle up.
Okay, so extra tones, this is where we got to start, right? It's like the ultimate speed demon of music genres.
Absolute.
I mean, we're talking songs over 1,000 BPM, some even hitting an insane 25,000 read.
How is that even music?
Well, it really pushes the boundaries of what we even consider music. It's like, imagine a painter
Okay,
using super rapid brushstrokes so they all kind of blend together,
I got you.
and you get an overall impression instead of like distinct shapes.
Right.
That's kind of what extratone does with sound. At those speeds, you can't even hear the individual notes.
It just becomes this wall of sound, this dense texture.
Yeah.
It's more about like raw energy than melody.
Wow. So it's like less about the individual notes and more about the overall feeling.
Exactly. It's a totally different way of experiencing music.
That's wild. Okay, so from the abstract soundscapes of extratone, let's move on to something a little more familiar.
Okay.
Techno. Now, techno brought those super fast tempos into the mainstream. And we can't talk about fast techno without mentioning Movies 1000,
A classic.
the fastest track officially recorded, clocking in at a cool 1,000 BPM.
That's the one.
What's the story behind that track?
Well, it's actually a really cool story. Moby was challenged by another musician to make the fastest track ever.
Oh, wow, like a BPM battle.
Exactly. And 1,000 was his answer to that challenge. And what's really impressive is that he didn't just achieve that speed by like repeating the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
He used these really intricate layers of electronic sounds. So it's not just fast, it's complex too.
So it's like speed and complexity working together.
But-
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and headbang our way into the world of metal.
Let's do it.
Brutal death metal and technical death metal, known for their sheer intensity and speed.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking drummers like George Colias from Nile, who can hit speeds of like 280 BPM.
He is a beast.
It's insane. But it's not just about hitting the drums as hard and fast as you can, right?
No way! It takes an insane amount of skill and control. These guys are using techniques like blast beats and gravity blasts,
I've heard of those.
which involve these super fast and precise movements with your hands and feet. It's like watching an athlete perform at the absolute peak of human ability.
It's mind-blowing how they even keep up.
It's not just about playing fast. It's about maintaining that control and precision and musicality within that storm of sound.
Yeah, like it still has to sound good.
Absolutely.
Okay, now for a debate that's been raging in mosh pits for decades,
Oh.
thrash metal versus speed metal.
The eternal question.
They both sound pretty fast to me.
Hmm.
So what are the subtle differences that set them apart in terms of speed?
You're right, they're both super fast and they share a lot of the same roots. But think of it this way. Speed metal is like a straight-on sprint, just pure, unadulterated speed and aggression.
Okay.
Thrash is more like a complex obstacle course. It's still incredibly fast, but it throws in more intricate rhythms, tempo changes, and song structure. So it creates a different feeling of speed.
So it's not just about how fast the notes are played, but how that speed is used to create a certain vibe.
Exactly. And that leads us to grindcore, which takes speed to a whole other level. It's all about these short bursts of sonic fury, often with tempos over 200 BPM. It's a genre that really pushes the boundaries of sonic extremity.
Wow, okay. So from sonic extremity to something a little more danceable, let's talk dubstep.
All right.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily think of dubstep as fast in the same way as some of these other genres, but it definitely has a feeling of speed and momentum.
It does. And that comes from the rhythmic complexity of dubstep. It's all about those syncopated rhythms and heavy bass drops. It keeps you moving forward, keeps you anticipating what's coming next.
So it creates that feeling of speed, even if the BPM isn't as high as, say, speed metal.
Precisely.
Okay, now this is where the list gets really interesting. We've got some genres here that you might not immediately associate with speed, like rock and roll.
Interesting.
It's got a groove, for sure,
Yeah.
but breakneck speed. Really.
Well, you got to remember rock and roll is a huge category with tons of subgenres.
Yeah.
So, while the classic 12-bar blues structure might not be super fast, there are genres like punk rock and some forms of hard rock that definitely crank up the tempo.
Okay, I see your point. So it's not the entire genre itself, but certain parts of it that can get really fast.
Exactly. Think about bands like the Ramones or AC/DC.
Oh, yeah.
They brought a raw, energetic speed to rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another genre that surprised me was drum and bass.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the name kind of gives it away, but what is it about drum and bass that makes it so fast?
Well, yeah, the name is a pretty big clue.
Yeah.
Drum and bass is all about those fast, complex breakbeats,
Oh.
often going over 160 BPM. And then you combine that with electronic elements and deep bass lines.
So it's like a fusion of speed and electronic music.
It is. But it's not just about the fast drums. It's how those drums interact with the bass and the atmospheric soundscapes that creates this super energetic, danceable sound that's all about speed and rhythmic complexity.
That makes sense.
Oh,
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the extreme tempos of extra tone to the intricate rhythms of drum and bass. But what about the genres we expected to see on this list but didn't? I'm thinking of things like neoclassical metal or jazz, which can be incredibly complex and technically demanding, but they didn't make the cut for the fastest list.
that's a good point. And it brings us back to what we were talking about before. BPM isn't the only way to measure speed in music.
Right.
Neoclassical metal with its crazy arrangements and virtuosic playing can feel super fast even if the actual tempo isn't that high.
Yeah.
Same with jazz. The improvisation and the complex harmonies create this feeling of musical velocity that goes beyond just the BPM.
So really the idea of speed in music is more complex than just how many beats per minute there are.
Exactly. It's about how all the elements of the music work together to create a sense of motion and energy that really connects with the listener.
So I guess it's not always about being the fastest, but about using speed effectively to create a certain feeling or emotion.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, we've taken our ears on a wild ride today.
We have.
From mind-bending BPMs to intricate rhythms, we've explored all kinds of fast music. So here's something for you to think about. Is the fastest music always the most exciting? Or does true musical speed come from a combination of tempo complexity and emotional impact? Keep exploring, keep listening, and let us know what you think makes a genre truly fast. Until next time.